I am your host, Danielle Mims. Welcome to Think Like a Kid, the podcast that helps parents and teachers stop guessing and start teaching the way kids actually learn. After working with hundreds of kids, I can promise you this: one-size-fits-all learning doesn't work. It's time to stop making kids fit the system and start shaping learning around the child. Each week, you'll get quick wins, creative ideas, and brain-based strategies to make learning hands-on and fun again. So whether you're in the classroom, the car, or halfway through your coffee, I am so glad you're here. Let's think like a kid. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Think Like a Kid podcast. I'm so glad you're here. Today, we are going to talk about a post that I have shared multiple times in the last few years that goes absolutely bonkers every time I share it. And there's two different sides of the whole spectrum of the fights and the comments and stuff like that. But it's very important to me. It's something that I studied in my master's program. It's something that I live every day, and I continue to grow and I continue to learn and I continue to share with you. So today we're going to talk about five. There are other signs as well, but these are like the five main signs that I've seen in kids that signal a genius or a high IQ. I also have, if you have not downloaded it yet, it's completely free. I have a guide called The 10 Signs of a High IQ in Children, and I go through these genius behaviors and I go through other signs and then how to best support your child. So I will link that in the show notes. Make sure to give that a look. So recently I reshared a post that continues to go viral for me. And when posts go viral on social media, it really means that people are fighting, right? If you look at the comments, people just go at it. I don't even read comments anymore. I thought I had thick skin and I don't. So I don't really read those comments, but people saw these genius behaviors that I've listed and they're like, every kid does that. Or some people get mad that I say that it's weird or whatever. I'm going to go through it with you. I've had students who've had these behaviors. I've had my own children who've showed some of these behaviors. So let's just get into it. Let's talk about the 5 signs that signal a genius in little kids. But before we do that, I want you to know, and I want you to hear me loud and clear, that if your child shows 1, 2, 3, 4, or all of these signs, they're not just quirky, they're not just difficult. They are, as I look, just beyond brilliant, and they are wired for STEAM. They're wired for science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. They're natural born leaders, and I want you, as their parent, to protect their curiosity at all costs because they are going to change the world. They're natural born engineers, they're natural born leaders, scientists, analysts, you name it. And we're going to go through these 5 signs, and I'm going to just give you a practical thing that you can try today to just continue nurturing their brilliance and to set them up for success. Because I know some of these signs can be a little bit frustrating. I know they can feel a little bit quirky or weird, but it's a part of who they are. And when you look at them from a different lens and notice, these traits are going to serve them well in the future, but I'm also losing my mind, I'm going to help you with that as well. Okay, the first one is hyperfocus. So intense focus. And actually, again, before I get started, the people who say all kids do this, sure, I'm sure that there are times where kids show these, like I'll just jump to number 2. Kids ask questions. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the intensity to which a child shows these behaviors. I am sure every child in the world asks a question. I'm not saying that. I'm saying relentless, or the intensity of it. So keep that in mind, okay? The first one is hyperfocus. So the intense focus. So they might be so completely absorbed in one specific topic or an object for hours and hours on end. Like they're in their own little world. So they tune out the rest of the noise that's going on in their house or at school, wherever they're at. They're just so fixated on one specific item, one specific task. The genius link, I'm not saying this is antisocial behavior. I'm saying this is a sign of deep
deep, natural focus and curiosity and passion. So, this intense concentration is what allows high level minds to explore subjects of their interests with incredible depth. So, what to do today if you're like, yeah, my kid can do Legos for hours and hours and hours. I will say lunch is ready or call their name and they can't even hear me because they're so focused. Don't snap them out of it. Okay. You want to protect that space. But I also get that you have a life and you have to get going with your day. So you can say something like, "Oh, I see that you're in your focus zone. I don't want to ruin that, but I am going to set a timer for 5, 10, you name it, 10 more minutes so that you can finish your deep work." So you don't want to break that beautiful, beautiful state of focus, but and you do want to give them a heads up so that you're not triggering a behavioral episode because their executive function isn't fully developed and they're going to completely melt down. So you're going to want to give them a scaffold, a th- something to set them up for success because what they're doing is not wrong. It does need to be protected. And there are other ways to have them transition. Transitions are like the number one thing that kids struggle with when they struggle with executive function in general. So having help there and support with transitions is always key. That's why I'm a big fan of visuals, visual schedules, etc. Number 2, I've had a lot of heat on this. Like every 4-year-old asks questions. What are you talking about? I know they do. I'm talking about relentless questioning. And if you know, you know. And if you don't, you don't. So this is like the endless why questions that are never satisfied with a singular answer. So the second that you give them an answer, then they combat it or they ask a more in-depth question about your answer. And it honestly like feels, if you've ever dealt with a kiddo like this, it kind of feels like an interrogation. And then you're just like, look, I don't know. Look, I don't know. And the genius link here is they have this literal thirst for knowledge and they have a drive to understand underlying principles of the universe. And this trait is so specific for those kiddos who are critical thinkers and innovators. Okay. And I will tell you, it is exhausting. My kids, when I was a teacher early on, I would like try to know a lot of stuff. And now after years in the classroom, I'm like, look, I don't know. Let's look it up together. Right. So that kind of leads me into like what you can do today to protect this because it is a very amazing trait that they have is to flip the script. So when they get to a massive why question, you can say, that is a really good question, or that's an amazing question. What do you think the answer is? So you're going to force their brain into a hypothesis, if you will. I actually started creating a little book that I was going to make for my relentless questioner. And it's all about like writing out the whys that he has, telling me what he thinks the answer is, and then him and I, because he was 4 when I created it. Now he's 6. He still is a relentless questioner and go research the answer. And then that leads to another question. And then you flip the page. And anyway, I want to publish it one day on Amazon because I'm sure there are other parents who are like, I got to document this. I mean, the questions that my son, Liam, has asked me at like age 2 about the pipes underneath our house or like where the water from the like I can't even think off the top of my head, but I'm like, look, I have gone 33 years without even giving that a thought. And here is my 2, 3-year-old asking me these in-depth questions. I'm like, just live your life, bro, you know. But I don't have that. Like I don't have that natural ability to just have such easy, in-depth questions. And it's beautiful. It's wonderful. I'm like, wow, you're a deep thinker. So I've tried my best to nurture those questions and I got to get better at writing them down because they're really, really good. Okay. Anyway, let's move on to number 3. So number 3 is taking things apart. So if you have one of these kids, you know. So these kids are like more into taking things apart than playing with the actual toy. So you might walk into the room and they might have completely taken apart a TV remote. That has happened in our house. They're really into the tools and screws. Maybe you got them a brand new toy that lights up and moves and they took it apart just because they were interested to see the mechanics of it. My mother-in-law and my husband, he's an engineer for Google, and he is this person. And actually, my mother-in-law has told me that when he was really little, like, you would give him a toy and he'd just flip it over. He just wanted to see the mechanics, how it worked. He wanted to take it apart. And that interest is so, all of these, I mean, I am not a genius. So all of these traits and behaviors are so fascinating to me because if your kid has this, my goodness, like, you have to nurture and protect it. The best way to do that is through STEAM. We will get to that. But anyway, I'll finish the sign number 3. So the genius link of taking things apart is to know your kid's not just trying to be destructive and to break things. This is a very strong drive for experimentation, spatial reasoning, and mechanics in general. My husband went on to graduate in mechanical engineering too, just so you know. They are trying to understand how the world works, but from the inside out. That's amazing. So what you're going to do today is you're going to give them a safe outlet for tinkering. So you might go to a thrift store or I don't know if you have like an old keyboard that you don't want anymore, or like an old digital clock or a watch, or you could cut the power off to, cut off the cord so, they're safe, right? Like, don't want anyone getting electrocuted over here. Hand them not a play screwdriver, a real one, like supervise, but like give them these tools. Like they can handle it. I'm a big advocate on that. And you can just say your mission today is to take this apart and I want you to show me what's inside and tell me what you think is happening and how it works. Like, you are fueling their brain. That is so awesome. And it's the most simple thing to do. Okay. Number 4. A lot of people might say this is their kid. So sensitivity and emotional intensity. Every single kid. I'm going to go back with the people who hate on me when I post about this. They're like, every kid has big feelings and strong emotions. I know that. I have 3 children. I have 1 out of 3 whose emotions are so intense. Like, I'm learning daily how to co-regulate, how to regulate myself just to handle this. Like, you would know on a deep level. You would never even argue if someone said this because it is a real thing. And what happens, which I will get into, is the kids who have a high IQ, their processing speed and their processing with their being in tune with their emotions, it's like so in depth and so intense that a lot of times kids with a high IQ, their EQ doesn't match up. So then they're overthinking everything on the intellectual level, but then their emotions are out of control and it's a recipe for disaster. Okay. So anyway, I kind of went on a little tangent there, but the behavior is heightened emotions. So they might have intense empathy or a deep, overwhelming concern for a sad story or any type of injustice. They might just not be able to cope and move on and function if things are not fair. So the genius link is that this heightened awareness of themselves and of the world around them is deeply emotional processing, and that typically will manifest later into artistic, the A of STEAM, into artistic talent. So they might have a keen sense of morality and early leadership qualities. So what to do today is to start today on emotional regulation. This is not something that you can teach in a week and expect their life to be great. You have to work on it every single day. And a lot of it comes from modeling yourself. And I am saying that with such conviction because I am that person. I am a work in progress, and I am working hard at this skill. And to explain to them that they have such a big heart and that your brain is so smart and it feels things so deeply, sometimes way deeper than other kids experience it. And you can even just have them start by drawing a picture or, having them talk about how you can fix a specific problem, coming up with solutions, channel emotion into action and don't punish it as hard as it is, these big feelings, because it will serve them well. And when you start practicing emotional regulation, say that your kiddo does have a high IQ or higher than typical, they're going to pick it up quickly. So even mid tantrum, if you've ever, don't ever teach these skills mid tantrum, by the way. Trust me on that one. I will also link my emotional regulation guide below for what I do with my own kids and what I did with all my students is to practice these skills and strategies in a playful setting, not when they're having these big feelings, so that their brain can access them and you can gently remind them, like, hey, do you remember you really liked that grounding technique that we did? Do you want to try that just to try to, calm down a little bit? And you can give them strategies. You can set them up for success before SHIT hits the fan. Okay. Now, number 5, we have unconventional thinking and imagination. All kids have an imagination. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm talking about these kids who are often in their own little world. So they daydream constantly. They might have like crazy, elaborate dreams and stories, come up with totally unique, bizarre solutions to everyday problems, things that no one even asks them to create. And they come up with solutions to things. Or I had one student come up with her own language, it's just fascinating. So anyway, the genius link in this specific behavior is that a vibrant imagination is having the ability to think outside the box. And with traditional learning, a lot of time, and our world in general, we're tend to put kids inside of a box. So these are the exact seeds that you want to make sure get planted and watered so that your child can grow up to continue to be the creative genius that they are. So one of my favorite ways to play with this, I like the word play, and to practice this type of behavior. You could do this with any kiddo, but it's called like the alternative uses game, if you will. I'm sure there's a better word for that. But you would just pick up a random object. Like I am holding my phone right now. And the goal is to tell them, if this wasn't a phone, what else could it be? And then they could come up and brainstorm 5 wild, unconventional uses to stretch that creative muscle. And they might say like, oh, you could use it as like a little tray, or you could use it as if it's raining, you could shield the rain from your eyes, or if it's sunny, like they come up with crazy, awesome ideas and it's super fun. I suggest that you try that. Okay, so if your child is doing any 1, 2, 3, 4, all of these things, congratulate yourself because you're raising a genius. And maybe some of the things I suggested you're already doing and you can continue to do. And maybe this is more of like validation podcast, which is awesome too. But if your kid is young, like 3 to 5, this is like their golden era for their brain. And if you're not feeding that hunger and that why with STEAM play, STEAM challenges, STEAM experiments right now, like you're just not missing a hobby. Like you're letting their natural intellectual brain start to fade, right? So leaving a gifted child in a standard traditional environment, workplace is like putting a Ferrari engine in a lawnmower. Okay. I heard that analogy and I was like, oh my gosh, yes. So I'm not saying that it's wasted potential. I'm just saying if your kid has any of these behaviors, nurture them. And the easiest way, because I know we're all stretched thin on time and things, is through STEAM. And STEAM is a lot easier than what you're thinking. And your kid will thrive and they will be so excited to participate in challenges and experiments and play. It's how they were born. It's how they're wired. So I will link my resources below, the free high IQ guide. I also have a Genius Kids course. So if your kid does like 2, 3, 4, or 5, if they just do one of these behaviors, you know what to do, like introduce STEAM. But if you're like, this is mostly my kid. Like, get in the course, learn more, and start incorporating STEAM into every single day. You will be amazed, and you're just setting them up for a lifetime of success. So, anyway, I don't want to go too far on time. This is probably like a really long episode compared to normal. So, thank you so much for listening. I'm really honored to just even have someone listen to this. It's a creative outlet for me, and it's a way for me to pass on what I'm learning. I learn every single day. I continue to get trained in random things, but it's so great to just share my message with the world, and I'm honored that you're here. So, thank you so much for listening to Think Like a Kid. I would love if you would share this with someone that you think is raising a little genius. And I will catch you next time. So thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to Think Like a Kid. If this episode gave you an idea, a reframe, or a little win, the best way to say thank you is to share it with a friend or leave a quick review. It helps more parents and teachers find these conversations, and honestly, it means the world to me. Until next time, friend, keep meeting kids where they're at and keep thinking like a kid.